Hello, my name is Tom Greene, and I'm a virtualization engineer at the University of Kentucky Healthcare. I have spent years and years learning VMware and building up a lot of expertise within the VMware stack and virtualization. So I decided whenever the call for a tech talk came out that I would talk to everyone about OpenStack. I knew absolutely nothing about OpenStack when I signed up for this, and I thought, of course, it's going to be easy. And little did I know the month that I had ahead of me. My journey into OpenStack really broke into 4 phases, and each phase lasted right around a week, which is very convenient for a presentation. Initially, I was really excited. I jumped right in. I hit the ground running, and then as soon as I hit the ground, I stumbled and fell and had a lot of frustration, a lot of stress with this. I regrouped and became a novice at OpenStack. My whole goal here is to tell you how to learn OpenStack faster than I did. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be a technical talk as much as how can I get you 2 weeks ahead of me in your month or however long if you want to start learning OpenStack from scratch. So initially, I was excited. I always love learning new stuff. I've self-studied all of my certifications. Everything that I've done, I feel like I've worked hard for and I've earned. So I've always thought that learning something new was fun. And I decided I was going to jump in and hit the ground running. The second that I signed up through the form to say I'm going to talk about OpenStack, I started Googling, found some guides, and started deploying. Started trying to download the Linux ISOs and get Linux set up and running. And I was leveraging my network. I was asking the people around me if they'd ever heard of it and if they could help me get my mind around this topic that I had no idea for. And they couldn't. Nobody around me knew anything about it either. So I went to Twitter and got some response and got some help. But I was determined. I was going to do this myself. I was going to get through. And so there's some stumbles along the way. Linux is very hard for me. I'm a Windows guy. I'm used to wizards and next finish. So building something from scratch was extremely hard. And so I was wearing out as many of the Linux resources as I could. And all these guides were saying, you need to edit this script, you need to go to this folder, you need to do this and that. I had no idea what I was doing. So I was going to Linux people and saying, hey, can you help me? And they were like, oh, of course, I can help you. Standing there laughing and saying, oh, all you've got to do is just use grep and just use cat and use awk. And I had no idea what they were talking about. So it was getting more and more frustrating as I was trying to set these things up. And then a guide is awesome. It's great to have a step-by-step guide until you get to step 5 and something doesn't work. You have to go back through. There's no troubleshooting in these guides. I throw up blogs that say do this and this and that, but I have no troubleshooting steps if it doesn't work for you. So it's really good to kind of try to wrap your mind around it, but it's hard if you get to struggle and you don't have a really solid base of people who can help you. So what I would recommend doing is brushing up on Linux. It's a lot easier than having to ask and have people explain it to you. If you can at least know how to use VI or some other text editor, it's really important. There's no easy installer, as I said. You need to know how you're doing it. Learn the lingo and try to relate it to something that you can do. If you're trying to install Keystone and you have no idea what Keystone is or what it does or how it fits in or how it relates to your knowledge set, it's very hard. I was determined to use the internet as a guide and ended up going for a book. The best book that I'd found and I've added to my collection is OpenStack in Action by Cody Baumgartner. It assumes that you have a basic knowledge of Linux as well, but it is a lot more step-by-step, and it introduced me to DevStack. DevStack is a product put out by the OpenStack Foundation to kind of help people like me and you, if you're new to OpenStack, to be able to deploy it in 4 or 5 lines of execution so that you can see what it looks like and get it going. VMware actually has a product called VMware Integrated OpenStack where they do the legwork for you and can do a production OpenStack through a OVA, but it has a really high overhead. So what is OpenStack? According to their site, it is a cloud operating system consolidating compute, storage, and networking. So I came to learn that OpenStack isn't just a product like vSphere. It's a multiple individual products that are all tied together. It gives you a public cloud experience in a private data center. You have the ability to do a web-based deployment to go in and set up instances and just choose from drop-downs, and it'll automatically deploy what you want, as opposed to using a GUI like a vSphere client to deploy a virtual machine. I've also come to find that it's intended for elastic resilient apps. It's not intended necessarily for resilient virtual machines. It expects your apps to be able to spin up and spin down, to be able to add themselves to load balancers and support that natively. Whereas a VMware infrastructure is more about keeping your virtual machine uptime high and being able to protect your applications that way. So a very basic overview. Keystone centralizes your authentication. With Keystone, it is what ties all the APIs for the other projects together. Nova manages your compute. It sits on the compute nodes and schedules the CPU and the memory. And Cinder manages block storage. It's a software-defined storage, so whenever you're choosing your storage, you choose a volume. You don't necessarily know what LUN it is on the underside. Neutron is software-defined networking, sort of like an NSX. It does layer 2, layer 3 routing. And Horizon brings it all together. The Horizon dashboard is a one-stop shop that has telemetry, it has deployment, it has management. So VMware Integrated OpenStack is a really neat product that comes with Enterprise Plus licensing. You deploy it, and it spins up all the load balancing, all the Nova nodes. It sets everything up for you to give you a really strong foundation. But there's a lot of requirements. It requires 56 CPU, 192 gig of RAM, and 600 gig of hard drive just to get it out the door with its base deployment. It also works the best with NSX. It can work with the distributed switch, but then it also requires you to have NSX or some sort of networking set up on the underside before you can deploy it. So it's a lot of resources. The best resource to really touch any OpenStack, but especially this one, was Hands-On Lab 1620. That's really where I dug in the most and got the most experience with OpenStack, was through that Hands-On Lab, because it was set up right and it worked great. So for me, my next steps, I actually would like to get a proof of technology for VMware Integrated OpenStack set up. There are some use cases that I think would be great, that it would be nice to use it for. I'm also wanting to keep learning Linux. It's getting bigger and bigger as open source materials start coming out, more open source products. A lot of them run on Linux. VMware's VCSA even runs on Linux, so it's going to be a very valuable skill to have. But ultimately, I'm interested in consuming OpenStack or a private cloud more than I am in creating and managing it. So my month of OpenStack has taught me that it's a great product that I really would like somebody else to manage. But hopefully the slides that I've shared will help you get past the extreme frustrations that I felt in weeks 1 and 2 and get you into deploying a dev stack, doing a VMware Integrated OpenStack, and just getting in and enjoying it and trying something new, if nothing else. So thank you guys for your time.